Hey everybody, welcome back to season 2 of Now We Adventure. We are on a really cool trip today. We're gonna go see tanks. Stick with us. Where are we now?
Right now we're in Acton. This is the commuter rail stop in South Acton, and it's got a good parking lot for kind of the middle of the day, and it hooks right up to the rail trail, which should get us down through Maynard and into Hudson.
So this would be great if you're coming from Boston and you want to have an adventure outside the city, because here you are.
Yeah,
Just bring
take
your
your
bikes
bike.
and let's do it. All right, let's get on the road. So it's about a $10 commuter rail fare one way from Boston, just to give you some idea. And so my kind of thought would be, if you're in the Boston area and you want to get to this tank museum, which I think is so cool, wait till you see it. If you got kids especially, I think they'd enjoy it. You might want to take commuter rail, maybe with your bikes, and then bike over, because it would be, what would you say? It would be about a 45-minute bike ride?
Something like that, yeah. And on this bike trip, we're going to take a bit of a roundabout way to get there. We're going to be heading into the Assabet River National Wildlife Refuge.
Oh, right, there's bunkers.
Yeah, so it's actually, if you're doing sort of a war-inspired trip to learn about sort of the history of military vehicles and logistics, this could be a good trip for that.
What's really cool is when you get out the train station there, it's just right across the street that you get onto this rail trail. So I can't recommend enough how easy it is to get started on your trip.
Yep.
And so we're going through Maynard right now, and we're going to be stopping in a second in the center of Maynard, and it's a really cool little teeny town, but it has a nice little main street kind of center where you can eat and stuff.
Yeah, there's a central parking lot, which is really nice.
All right, we're here in Maynard Center, and there's lots of great places for food, walking around. So it's a nice little stopping spot right off of the path, and parking.
Yeah, so this could be a good start to your trip. It was maybe 10 minutes of biking from where we started, so obviously this could be a good spot to start, and then you just skip that other spot or get picked up there. Or
Because if you're like us, a lot of times you're so excited to get on the road that you forget to eat.
That's true. So this is definitely a nice little stop-off point. We're here on a holiday, so a lot of things are closed, but most of the time there's just a ton of restaurants.
Yeah, and Maynard is one of the tiniest towns in Massachusetts.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Really tiny. All right, let's get back on the road. Yeah, so Maynard used to be the home of Wang Computer. They came in the 80s, and there was a big resurgence, and everyone was so excited. And then Wang left, or went out of business, or whatever they did, and it kind of really set back the town of Maynard for quite a while. But their rail trail is really nice.
Yep, the bike trail runs right through town, even though on Google the green line kind of disappears. There's like a gray line that goes through the town, and that's what we were riding on. And then, yeah, it's a really nice bike trail all the way through town. What we're going to do here is we kind of had to hop off a little bit to get back onto the path, and then we got to ride along the river. This is the Assabet River, and it's going to take us to the Assabet River Wildlife Refuge.
It's a really fun kind of out-of-the-way place where I feel like it was almost a secret. And the reason for that is you weren't allowed to be here until 2005. It was owned by the government, and it was kind of walled off with razor wire and stuff. So I think most people have just never really grown up knowing that you could be here. And it really felt like that. This was on Patriots Day, and so I would have thought it would have been packed with people. It was a beautiful day, but it really wasn't. So I feel like if you want almost a secret place, this could be it.
And there's a huge bunch of trails, both walking and biking, all around the place. So I encourage you to check it out. They have a parking lot, they have a visitor center. But other than that, it would have been a giant black hole in the middle of this area between Stowe, Maynard, and Hudson.
All right, so we took a little pause here on the Assabet Trail. I think we're still technically in Maynard, but this is a nice little spot. There are little spots on this where you can stop at a bench and take in the view.
And yeah, this trail here is, a little bit rougher than the paved path that we had before. This was paved at one point, and now it's a little rougher. But it's still pretty well kept. There's less like brush, and there's a little mud that we had to kind of go through, but it wasn't that bad.
I feel like it's a secret. We didn't pass many people, and it is a holiday.
Yep.
So I feel like if on this beautiful day, not many people are here, this is your own little private path.
Yeah, it's really nice, and hopefully we're going to start to see some of those bunkers.
Oh, let's go see the bunkers. All right, so I'm not sure exactly what town we're in. It's either Maynard, Stowe, or Hudson.
Yeah, this area kind of it includes all of these towns, which is kind of weird. It's sort of like these towns kind of die all around what was a completely walled off spot. You weren't able to see this area.
Yeah, and you'll find out why in a minute.
Exactly. But yeah, lots of trails. This is a great little trail, ran right by this, telephone poles, and we could move real quick on some of these. And here you can see one of the many parking lots. This one wasn't even by the visitor center. There's just a whole lot of different places, so you could definitely bring your bike.
We're on a road right now, but it is a very quiet road, and it feels very safe.
And that's because it's a dead end. It actually ends right at the visitor center. So those cars don't have anywhere else to be, so they're either going to the visitor center or not.
All right, so what you're seeing here are 50 old bunkers. We're going to pass a bunch of them today, and these were to keep munitions safe. This is called the Maynard Ammunition Backup Storage Point. It is a network of 50 bunkers, and they took in munitions from the Midwest, because that's a safe place to make the munitions, bring them here, and then ship them down to Cohasset, Boston, and Hingham. And so, yeah, let's go find out where they are. Bunker B06. Good old Bunker B06. So, I mean, one game you could play would be to see how many of the 50 you could spot. That'd be kind of a fun one for kids.
Yeah.
And for adults who are kids.
Huge bunker. And the interesting thing I think here is that this, I believe, was the corner. The concrete's not quite there anymore, but the steel still is.
Oh, of the actual loading bay? Kind of like, so this was the rail line I'm standing on now?
I think so. Yeah, so I think this was one of the many rail lines that would come in and kind of split up. And so this way you could load munitions off of this thing, which is locked with a pretty nice lock there. Then you'd be loading, I guess, artillery shells or small arms rounds onto the train.
So did you know, you're probably wondering where this land came from. 100 landowners were kicked off their property by eminent domain at the beginning of World War II, probably a little bit before then, as we were gearing up for war. And they're like, bye, can't live here anymore.
Wow.
So thank you to all those landowners who gave their land up for the war effort. And so, yeah, the munitions would come in from the middle of the country, be stored here while they were shipped out to the East Coast, other, naval shipyards, probably Boston. I'll bet some of these munitions went to, Normandy and other places like that.
Yeah, which is really kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And
and by the way, this area was not open to the public until 2005. It was just blocked off with razor wire for the past, I think, 80 years. So it's only been very recently that you've been able to actually enjoy it. So come on out and enjoy it.
Yeah. And this used to be farmland, right?
I think so.
So, I mean, what's interesting is all the trees.
Yeah.
Because you don't think of trees when you think of farmland.
Yeah, and so we're headed to the Tank Museum, and we're probably going to see some tanks that probably fired some of the munitions that were stored in these bunkers.
And probably some of the tanks that we're going to see, like the German ones, had our ammunitions shot at
Had
them.
holes punched in them from the munitions. I mean, it's kind of crazy that they're so close to each other.
Well, what's crazy is that this was kept a secret by the government for 80 years. Like, I get it that during the war effort it had to be kept a secret, but then they just kept using it, I think, for other purposes, or maybe to store ammunition for other wars. I don't know. But yeah, you weren't allowed here until very recently.
Yeah.
And so this is, hard pack, pretty easy riding for our 4-inch fat tire bikes, but I would think that other bikes might have some trouble if you're not really a good mountain biker. Mm-hmm. But really fun for strolls with dogs and stuff like that. The only tricky part is there's a couple places that got muddy and one place where the road gets washed out, which you'll see it coming up here.
It was also kind of easy to get lost. Even with the GPS on your phone, it's like, I don't know exactly which way I was headed. So I had to do a little bit of, making really sure which way we were going. I don't think that we would have, gotten lost and never found again, but it's hard to know which turn to take just because it doesn't look like streets. And so here's our harrowing crossing over this,
Hopefully by the time you come here, they'll have this fixed because we've done it once before and it was in a little bit better shape, but looks like they've had some washout, so they're fixing that, hopefully.
And here you can see me having to go around a gigantic puddle. And so if we take a look at the map, you'll see that basically this took us on a big loop through the Assabet River Wildlife Refuge. And we're going to get back on track here. We're going to be getting back on the Assabet River Rail Trail. And the interesting part about what we're getting on is that it's actually a road. It's both a bike trail and a car road, but it's going to lead to a pretty interesting place.
It doesn't feel like a road, Jesse, just because they blocked off both ends. And so these two cars that we're seeing here, it's not like you really have to worry about cars. They're going really slow, and this is really rutted out. So I don't think you have to worry about it as like a road.
Yeah, it's actually kind of a pleasant ride. And even though you do see cars, it's almost like they're on, the bike's turf as opposed to being, on an actual paved road.
But do think about weather, because if it's been rainy, you will find, as you're going to see here, a lot of little muddy patches. So kind of be prepared for that.
And where have we found ourselves here?
I guess you're wondering if we would ever bring you to the CIA headquarters. Well, we have. It's here at this airfield, and you can't get in. Whereas last fall, Jesse and I were able to ride around the airfield. I don't know if this is going to be forever like this. It kind of looks that way. It's got barbed wire and fancy pants gate.
It makes sense. It's an airfield. But I mean, it was fun to ride around last time, but I definitely don't think we should have.
Really?
I don't think so.
But it had all this falling apart stuff. Like it had, remember, old Ferris wheel kind of rides and stuff like that. It's in the middle of, it's neat because it's an island in the middle of the river. But yeah, I'm bummed that we can't take you in here today. And it looks like you may never be able to get in here unless you're in the CIA.
Or unless you fly. I don't know if you're allowed to land.
Yeah, there's phone numbers here so you can call, and there's a gatekeeper and stuff. So it does say that there's RC model flying, so I think that they must open it up for stuff like that.
That's fun.
Yeah. All right, well, let's keep going.
So CIA is a funny joke. It is the Crow Island Airpark at crowislandairpark.com, and they do have events all throughout like the spring and summer and fall, so go look on their website if you're interested. And you're seeing some b-roll right now of some of the fun things they do with all kinds of biplanes and older aircraft and stuff. So if you're into that kind of stuff, again, this would be a fun day if you kind of looked ahead to see that was what was going on, and then you traveled out here with your family for that, because then your bikes wouldn't take up any space. It'd be easy to park.
Yeah, it's just amazing that you're able to kind of do this bike trip all on a bike and see all of these kind of neat and yet strangely connected things.
Now, as we're leaving the CIA, coming up, I think was one of the most unexpected things that we've gone to on our bike trip. Many of the things we've gone to, I kind of knew what we were going to find. I knew that you were bringing me to this museum, but I thought there'd be, like one old Sherman tank or something. And even as we approached the building, I thought, well, that's looks like the kind of building that would hold one old Sherman tank. But alas, no. It is
not alas. It's so great.
It is so great. It was mind-blowing, actually. And so I want to spoil it for you, but we do want to show you what you'll find inside. And if you are going to do this, we did it in just an hour. You should really plan for a whole day, I think, because it really warrants that kind of trip, especially because it's not cheap. I will say, go to their website, check it out at American Heritage Museum. But, it is going to cost you some money. So to do it for the day, it's probably worth it. To do it for an hour, maybe not.
And when we went, because we only had, it was, I think, less than an hour, the nice lady at the front desk.
She gave us a reduced rate.
She gave us a nice reduced rate, which was very kind of her because, I did go back. And I went on a day where they were driving tanks around.
Right. So, look at this nondescript building, and I guess now that I know it's in it, I'm like, oh, it's pretty big. But it didn't strike me that way.
We made it. Yeah. This pretty nondescript building behind us is the American Heritage Museum, where I think they have some tanks.
Let's go see them. And did you tell me that they actually do days where they teach you how to drive them? Is it like on this lawn or something?
Actually, behind this building is a giant dirt lot. So
now we are here today on Patriots Day, and they said that it's only open on a Monday because it's a holiday. So don't come on Mondays generally.
yes.
All right, well, let's get in there. I got to see some tanks.
All right.
And they've done a really good job of laying it out from World War I to World War II, Vietnam, Korean War, like all the wars up through the 90s and all the different technologies of those times. And so that's why it's going to take a while to take it all in. So you're seeing some of the sights of it.
They have so many tanks. They have
a Scud missile launcher.
I didn't think that they were going to have this
and including
much
planes.
Stuff. There are planes. There's a landing craft from Normandy.
They have a piece of the Berlin Wall.
There are so many different things, and it's not just like here's a tank just sitting here. They have it completely decked out and decorated with all of the stuff that it would have. They have armored personnel carriers that have helmets and guns and bullets, like as if it was in the middle of the heat of battle and all the people had to leave, but they left the tanks sitting there. They're painted. They're in pristine condition. These are not rusted out husks of, old stuff. This is such a well done museum. I cannot glow enough about it.
Yeah.
It really gives you an entire experience. Not only that, we did not get to witness this, but I went back later. They had an entire day where they were driving tanks around. They had people in full period uniforms. They had tents set up. They had reenactments. They have so much amazing stuff.
They even have reenactments with airplanes.
With airplanes flying overhead. Now, I did not get to see one of those days, but I can't wait to go back.
And also, if you pay enough money to become a member at like the highest levels, you can even drive a tank.
You don't even have to become a member. You can literally just basically
pay
a fee and be driven around in a tank.
So go to their website, check out, there's different days during the spring and summer and fall where they do these. So I think around 10 days during the year. So it's good to go on those days, although they'll be packed. And then, not to mention that, they have a whole car museum.
They do. So there's a ton of extremely old vehicles. There's a bunch of extremely old and exciting planes.
Did you say they had a U-boat?
They had a piece of a U-boat. They did not have a full one. But yeah, it's really, really amazing. If you're like, oh, I can only see the amazing stuff at like the Air and Space Museum, to a certain degree, this is on the same level.
And I bumped into a Tesla owner at a Tesla event who told me he worked nearby to the guy who started this. He started a company, I think, called the Digital Equipment Corporation, made a lot of money, really into World War II and tanks and stuff. So started this museum with his own funding. I think his son is helping run it now. And so, yeah, it's just kind of the love project of a couple people. And you really feel it when you're in there. It just feels like they put their heart and soul into making this museum great. So, yeah, I can't recommend it enough unless you're just not into tanks and stuff. But I think
even if you aren't, go, because
right.
You are going to have a different appreciation for veterans. You're going to have a different appreciation for what this country is capable of producing in the thousands.
And they have really great volunteers as well that can help answer questions. And so, I don't know, and great gift shop. So can't recommend it enough. This trip really had a lot of great things to do with your family, and I just never expected that this close to Boston, it's only 21 miles from Boston, that you could have this kind of experience.
And again, because you can take the commuter rail to get there, this could be an entirely car-free experience. Not necessarily tank-free, but it's really kind of neat that this whole trip worked. It felt very safe. It felt very fun. A lot of beautiful wilderness to explore, and then to kind of top it off with going to the tank museum. I feel like it could be the kind of thing where maybe one parent goes with the kids, and then after work, the other parent shows up and can go to the museum with everybody else.
This was like, great first episode for season 2, because I feel like it was just full of uncovered secrets.
Hey, thank you so much for watching Now We Adventure. If you like this kind of stuff where we're basically exploring some of the most amazing places on e-bikes, please consider subscribing. We'd really appreciate it. And check out some of our other videos from season 1. I'm really excited to be bringing you more stuff from season 2.
We'll see you next time on Now We Adventure.